I'm in Tenerife, cycling again, but this time it's a training camp. So I think that means I need to put a bit more effort into it, which was going to be interesting. I've done a few trips away before, but most of it's been under my own steam or at a pace or a level I've been wanting to do, whether that's Mallorca 312, where pretty much rode at the pace I wanted to go, charity bike ride, multi-day event. As long as you were up on first thing in the morning, okay, you were pretty much left to your own devices to get yourself around, or just riding around with mates under our own steam. But this time I think I'm gonna be having to push myself a little bit more. Never done a training camp, let's see. Maybe I'll be last up the hill. I definitely won't be first in the coffee shop, that's for sure. And I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not, having to exert myself a little bit more than I'm happy to get out of my comfort zone. But let's see if it's gonna be more training or maybe more time camped in the coffee shop. Let's find out. Day one, ride one done, and it was okay. It was 70k up towards Mount Teide, and we then turned off at Villa Floor, meant to be supposedly easing into it. And I felt all right, legs felt okay, bike was great. So we left here in a nice group. I think there was maybe 12, 13, 14 of us. And traffic getting out and getting through town was a bit of a nightmare, but once we were out, wind wasn't too bad. Certainly on the way up, it was quite nice, quite pleasant. Nothing too crazy steep, but it just seemed to keep going on. It seemed like 20k or something, just going up and up and up. And downhill was nice, but there was quite a bit of wind on the way down, which I didn't like. So that was a bit sketchy in places. Got back to the hotel, and so far I would be happy if we were doing that pretty much every day. I am wondering if every single road around here leads up to Mount Teide in one form or another. Tomorrow's ride, exactly the same route out, but keep going further on up for maybe another 10k or so. So a little bit more climbing, and let's see how the legs feel after that one. All in all, pretty happy with how day one has started. Day two, and this was a bit of a ride up to Teide again, but this time a little bit further than day one. So rolled out a little earlier, 9 a.m. I think was the start time-ish. Got caught up with a little bit of traffic as normal, which isn't particularly pleasant. But got into the countryside and followed the same route as we did on day one, up to our now normal water hole, where we stop and get some water, topped up there. But this time we kept on going up towards Villa Floor, where we stopped in, I would say, a coffee shop, actually, two places for coffee, because the first time we got the wrong place, carried on a little bit further, and then stopped there for another coffee and a little snack, cheese toasty. And then from there, we pushed up on, which is about another hour. So I think from there it was about 11, 12k maybe, up to the top of Teide. Now then, as I'm on a training camp, how did it manifest itself up Teide? Well, some of the more athletic riders in the group, they were doing some timed hill efforts as they went through. I did not do that. I just kept to a more, tried to keep it consistent, just tapping it up there. I did though, as I was looking at Wahoo Summit, as I got towards the top of the climb, I could see it was about 2k to go. Then it started to flatten out, and normally I would have sat up a little bit, maybe taken it easy, maybe just rejoice in the fact that I survived. But this time I tried to keep pushing on through, keep working, and yep, I was definitely glad to get to the top. And the stats don't show, I don't think, the full story. I think from memory, maybe 6 now something a moving time. It's 130 kilometers total distance, just 100 odd meters shy of 3,000 meters elevation. On this paper, it didn't sound like a massive day, but I think it's just such a long climb. I'm sure someone said it was about a 30-kilometer climb, so you're just climbing all the time, just pretty much after the coffee stops, non-stop. Yeah, it was just crazy. Just kept going up and up and up. And of course, the other thing is altitude. We were, I think it's around 2,200 meters up. So you could definitely feel the chill. You know, it's February, it was hot and sunny here, but up there it was a little chilly, so glad I had my jacket with me, certainly for at least part of the descent as well. Descent was good on the way down. There was a bit windy, it's more of a kind of headwind coming towards you, so it wasn't too sketchy in terms of blustery, trying to knock you off or blow you side to side. More of a fierce headwind, and I did feel like I was pedaling a lot more than I should have done, but got it done. And then once we were kind of downish, it was a little bit undulating, a little bit rolling as we turned to head back to the hotel. And the first part of that was pretty good. It was quite nice, but then unfortunately we started to hit some of the towns, maybe around Playa de las Americas and Costa Adeje, and it seemed to be rush hour or something going on. There was a lot of traffic and it was just not very nice. And then we got out of that bit and got onto the final, I don't know, maybe 10k stretch back to the hotel, and it was just a fierce headwind going into it. So not an ideal way to end the day, but as they say, when it's done, it's done. Day 3, ride 3 has been done. Today was 85 kilometers, I think 1400 meters elevation, out and back up the coastal road somewhere on the east coast, and then back about 3.5 hours total. When I got on the bike this morning, I was quite looking forward to it. I felt good, and then we had a 1 kilometer roll out and straight into a 13 kilometer climb. Now, there's nothing too chunky, but it really took me out of it. I was sweating and blowing hard, but got that done. And then once I had recovered from that, it was just nice, gentle, quite rolling out along the coastline, quite beautiful views over there. Lacking coffee stops, pretty much. We kept stopping and looking, saying, and we was being told, yeah, just around the corner there's somewhere, and there was nowhere. So in the end, we arrived in a little village, found a supermarket, just pitched up on the side, topped up with water, bought a little cake, a pastry, and turned around, came back. And some nice little ups and downs and descents on the way back. A little bit windy and breezy and sketchy just in the last little bit as we came back down towards town, and rolled back into the hotel with a really strong headwind, which luckily didn't have far to go, but back in time for lunch and got to go find that coffee. Day off tomorrow. I am not getting on the bike, I am not riding, I am just lounging around, doing very little, but I do have to do the washing, so living the dream. Ride number 4, and today was the big one, the Teide time trial. At least time trial for some of us. Up early and out by 9ish, and we had 2 main groups, so those that are just looking to pace it up there, set a decent time. Personally, I was probably aiming for 3 hours, and then there was a second group which set off a little later who were going full gas, time trial, trying to get in under 2 hours. So first group, very much soft pedaling out of the hotel on the way to the foot where the segment starts. Had a little stop at a petrol station, had a coffee, and just getting prepped because a couple of kilometers later we were pretty much into it. So it was the main Strava segment, which was 33-ish kilometers total length, 6.5% average gradient. So from the start of there, we were just on it. And first part of it, at least first third or so, felt good. No real issues, just kept on tapping it out. The further we got up the climb, the more our initial little peloton started to separate and get into smaller groups, and just keeping on going. Seemed to be going well. Stopped at our normal little watering hole for a very quick refill, but then we were back on it all the way up into Villa Flor, where really annoyingly my Wahoo Summit segment just disappeared and finished. So that started to upset me somewhat because I couldn't see how long was left, which was a little bit vexing, but ignored that, pushed on through. So got to Villa Flor, about 11 kilometers left, and that just seemed to drag and go on and on and on, and I was starting to struggle. I was trying to keep my heart rate down below the threshold zone 4, trying to keep it tempo zone, but certainly for quite a bit of that ride, certainly towards the end, it was a real struggle, and I was into zone 4 threshold, and trying not to go too deep, but got up there, pushed on through. It seemed to go on forever, never ending, but finally made it round the corners, made sure we went past the sign, be doubly sure we would actually finish the segment, turned around, got the obligatory photos, and I was pretty happy. I was out of water by that point, very happy to have made it back up there. And then when I checked my time later, it was about 2 hours 55 minutes, so well happy to get in under the 3 hours. Nice descent back into Floor, stopped at a place we'd been to before, a little bit of a refresher, got some chips, and then it was a really nice descent back down through. For part of that, it seemed like I was the only person on that mountain at some points, very quiet, regrouped, and then pedaled back towards the hotel, but just stopped off at a cafe for a little bit of sustenance, a little cerveza sin alcohol, and good day out. Last ride and 2 groups going out today. One group, which I was not in, was going up and over Teide, down the other side, and then, if they felt alright, coming back up Teide, so 2 TDs. But I didn't fancy that. So there was another group of us who went out and we were going to do the coastal road, which we did the other day, but just go a little bit further, stop for some lunch. That was 120k. However, when we got out there, we got maybe 25, 30k in. The wind today was just brutal. It really picked up overnight and it was not pleasant. So we stopped at a place, grabbed a coffee, had a chat about it, and then turned around and came back. So today was, I think, just shy of 50k, but it felt a lot further because of the wind was just awful, especially the last bit coming back down into El Medano. I didn't like it, it was awful. But that's it, done and dusted. Got to put the bike away, get packed, and go back home to the cold and rainy, maybe not so windy, UK. Okay, I am now back home and reflecting on my cycling training camp in Tenerife. I can say for sure it was a big success. The camp allowed me to clock in more miles than I could have dreamed of back home, laying down a solid foundation for the upcoming spring and summer rides. The joy of cycling in warm weather without the burden of winter gear was a refreshing change. Tenerife provided an ideal training ground, especially with the challenging climbs up to Teide, which offered 30k plus of relentless ascent, perfect for building strength. Although from our base the routes were somewhat limited, focusing primarily on ascending Teide or sticking to the coastal road, the lack of variety was a small price to pay for the quality of training the island provided. However, when it comes to accommodation location, El Medano wouldn't be my pick for a repeat visit. The relentless winds, fantastic for windsurfers, but horrible for cycling, especially during the final kilometres of the ride. They were less than ideal. Next time, I'd consider staying further up the west coast, perhaps near the tourism-heavy Los Cristianos or Playa de las Americas, and that's for easier access to Teide, but alternatively, the quieter areas of Alcala or Los Gigantes offer a more serene base, though a little bit farther from the famed climbs through Floor. The highlight of the camp, though, was the people and the camaraderie, riding alongside a diverse group of passionate cyclists, united in their drive to improve, truly enrich the experience. The shared laughs, conversations, and collective focus on cycling were the essence of the trip. The training camp was a fantastic experience. Tenerife's roads, the people, and the sheer act of riding have left an indelible mark, and one I'm eager to repeat. It's an exceptional way to kick off the cycling season and a powerful springboard for the rest of the year, which ends with me perhaps being inspired to put this training to good use and maybe sign up for another event just like this one.